All right, welcome to our board meeting. And as soon as I went live, it'll join. I keep forgetting you can add yourself. I'm just going to give the intro of we're ahead of the curve. We've been doing our remote board meeting from remote locations since we started.
Yep.
A lot harder for companies that aren't used to doing it remotely. Now take up doing it remotely. This is our project of projects, metaproject board meeting of how... I don't think any of us have done much with the Facebook group as far as figuring out how to get people to these meetings, how to get people, we have enough participation in the solution and project raisings, but how to get new faces and so people know what's going on. I feel it's the same problems as usual, just the algorithm, people being busy with pandemics and other such life problems. But so I just opened the agenda and linked to this video, but didn't actually put anything on the agenda.
Okay.
Nor did I watch 2 weeks ago. It was one to refresh myself.
While we're talking about this meeting, trying to get people to show up to it, is it at all is this time set in stone for both of you? Because the 11 a.m. time ends up being weird because it runs right after a pretty important meeting for me that happens weekly.
I'm pretty flexible.
Okay.
I'm pretty flexible on most weeks.
Okay. Even if we just push it forward an hour, that would be awesome. If we can do noon instead of 11.
All right. Does that work for you, Emily?
Yeah, that should work.
Okay. Perfect.
And honestly, if Jonas wants to come, that'd also work better for Jonas. I'm just going to say it for him.
Okay, cool.
Because it's an hour later, so instead of it being ridiculously early, it's only ridiculously early, you know? Maybe create a website introducing Game B as a new... I'm just going to put this up here so I'm not reading it out loud. Renaissance. The website would have a filtering system that allowed people to find groups solving problems they are most interested in. Yeah, that'd be great. Do you want to make that? That's what I posted a video asking for someone to make the scheduler, and I got a lot of other things out of it, but no one who's like, yes, I can make that, because right now, well, all the extroverts are inside. What a great time to communicate that video chat is the way to connect with people, because introverts don't know that it's the answer to their problem. Extroverts would. It's like when they're stuck inside. Collaborating teams on, have we heard of this one before? I don't think so. Twist?
I haven't, no.
We will check it out. Probably not live right now, but.
I haven't heard of that either.
I did, however, on the post where I posted about the scheduler in Game B. So unfortunately, Facebook user, I think you're posting from the project page is my guess, because it's where we're live. So I don't know how you would post if you weren't there, but we can't see who you are, but we'll see who you are after. And yes, any help is always great, especially Game B help from people who are web developers. But I posted for the scheduler because it would be great if someone could make. Maybe I just overestimate how simple the scheduler is. That I'm like, someone who knows how to do it could do it in a weekend or a week. And hey, if you're stuck at home anyway, why not do this so that society can come together and work on solutions, or just talk about the game last night, or have a religious ceremony, literally anything that's via video chat while people are having to socially distance.
There will be some people who, because they're home, will have nothing to do. Most everyone I know, though, has remote work capabilities. So it's actually increasing the workload on a few people. But yeah, maybe someone has a job that isn't remotable that would have a little time. Yeah. And then I also, I watched your video, Julie, and I thought it might be helpful to try to narrow down the requirements of the scheduling app. So I took a crack at writing those down. If we want to, as part of the agenda, we can go over those and just make sure that that's correct and in the right priority order.
Yeah. And Nick on my YouTube channel had made a comment about some tool for, what did he say? I'm going to go look it up. Someone else talk. I'm going to go look up what he said on mine, because he also gave that. Oh, no. Shh. Don't talk. That's what happens with you guys can talk. I wanted me not to talk. unpause the video. Sorry, that
And
was
maybe
more.
for that Facebook user that we can't see their identity, web graphic designer, the question comes in, do you have any back-end skills that could, because this system will need a back-end. So front end will help, but it'd be good to know whether you're exclusively front. Yeah, I was looking at open source projects to see what pieces are there, and there's a couple of UIs that are pre-built, but actually none of them had an easy way to make a recurring appointment. So I'm trying to think whether we even, like for V1, want to have it to where you just say what days of the week you're available. You know, something really simple, because repeating calendar appointments can be challenging to calculate.
So I have a somewhat solution for that came from the Game B post, but first I just wanted to read what I have open, which is take a moment and draw a flow chart of the minimum viable process on whimsical.com, which is they have a free option to be able to draw a flow chart, which is not how my mind works for tech, because I wouldn't know how to do that. But what was I going to say? So when I posted in Game B, someone posted saying that there was this other one which connects you with people on one-on-one video chat, and it's a paid service, but people can say $0, right? So that's like, I could say, and I don't quite know how it works. I haven't looked at it that much. That's someone else posted 29. I don't know what the name of that one is, but it's in the Game B post that Kira posted. The other one is this app called 29K, which has a lot of glitches on it. It doesn't actually work what they're doing, but they've so it's a mental health app that is amazing when it's working, because part of it is you're doing courses and you find a group to communicate with about the course. So you're put into a group, and how they have the group work is they have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And if you click on one, it either says there isn't one available or there is one available, and it gives it to you in your time, right? So 9 a.m. your time, there's one available. If none of them work for you, then you can, of course, create your own. Or you could just create your own if you'd like to. I don't, because it's not working. It wouldn't actually let me put myself in a group. I have no idea what that group looks like. I don't know, like, how they connect via video chat. But that system of having a problem or something, or a club, right, a book club, something, and then being able to, does that work? There's something there about having it be just, instead of you putting in your entire schedule and having it match you up, which is hard, putting in a topic for either a one-off conversation or an ongoing conversation. And therefore, you can look at any conversation that's going on in a specific time or a topic. And then if they don't match up for you, you can create another one within that. That makes sense? And is that more simple than what I had done on the video?
I didn't quite parse that well. Maybe can you say that? Sorry, you did a 5-minute spiel, and I realized I was trying to read something else and wasn't paying.
So how the one in the app worked was just that they had theirs wasn't even that great, because I had to click on Monday to see if there's one on Monday, then Tuesday to see if there's one on Tuesday. But then it would show me a time in my own time zone, and so I could join that group or I could start my own. And so instead of me having to put in my schedule and then it figuring out people for me to talk to, I can start a conversation and invite people. And if people can't make the time that I have suggested, they can start a new time. So anyone can either find conversations that are happening at the time that they're available and can either choose to be part of any of those or start their own, or can choose the opposite of that, what time they're available, or a topic. You can either set a topic and a conversation and start that process, or find one that's already there, because all you need is a topic, ongoing or one-off, and then a time.
I still kind of prefer the idea of putting in some general availability, getting a notice when two people's availabilities, when they share a topic and their availabilities overlap, and then they could say whether they're available for any time in that overlap.
I've started to build something a bit like that in Knack, just to sort of build out a proof of concept where you can have your projects, you can sort of list what sort of help you need. The end goal is to sort of try to build in like the solution raising is almost like an earliest stage where you can say, here's the solutions that came out of that. here's the other solutions that we know about just like from projects, right? So like here's the solution that Reason Score is doing, here's the solution that Wiki Election is doing, and then here's a solution on food that no one's tackling yet. And then part of it is, the projects can sort of say, here's who's involved, here's the help we need, and then members can go and see what people need help with.
Does that have anything to do with the scheduling issue, or is that just?
Well, so for the scheduling part, I kind of think in like the MVP version, we aren't going like there isn't going to be availability. It won't even be smart enough for time zones. You'll just say like, here's the session that we're doing. With how NAC works, because it's very sort of like just a database with a very simple front end, I'm sort of picturing like different fields that you would pick. Like here's the time in Pacific, here's the time in UTC, here's the time in Australia, like in a certain Australian time zone, just so that like if you're used, if you live in North America, you're probably relatively used to translating from PST, or I guess from Pacific time, so you might be okay with that. Even though it would be ideal for you to put in your own time, put your availability and have it translate. That to me seems sort of like a down the road, a nice to have. I can translate time zones quite well in my head personally. So I think for version 1, I'm hoping other people can as well.
So, but that would still be one. Are you expected people put in their availability, or are you suggesting people put in times to have a meeting?
So the first one, this would the thing that I'm building is more project based, right? So it's like, we're having these meetings for this project, right? So TogetherTec might have this meeting. It might have the project raisings. Wiki Election would have the live streams that I do on Saturdays. If you do anything sort of on a recurring basis for Reason Score, you can put that, and then people can go and see a list of either all of the possible sessions, or if you're interested in Reason Score and you're reading up on it and seeing what Reason Score needs help with, and maybe what content it is available. You can also see, hey, here's the regular sessions if you're interested in attending those.
So I don't know that solves let's kind of narrow down the use case, because we're kind of conflating the team scheduling app with the project raising, and we're raising this project, and project raising, we're not, this will help with project raising, but that's not initial focus, is my understanding.
Right.
Yeah, my initial catalyst for doing it right now was the pandemic. Was like, okay, all these people are stuck inside. If we had the scheduling, what a great time for people to come on board and be able to understand how powerful video chat, that we're experiencing, but the outside world isn't. It's like its own project in the project. So once we have that, it's a lot easier to meet on things like, hey, I need help with TogetherTec, and finding a time that works for your team, but the use case is as an individual finding people to connect with via video chat on topics that are important to you. And so having it be a scheduler that matches you up on topics, and a schedule that works for both of you. So whether that means, like Bentley was saying, and I said in the video, having individuals put in their schedule and then having them match you up, or I can put in, hey, I want to talk about climate change at 3 p.m. on Tuesday. And if someone's like, oh yeah, climate change, I want to talk about that, but they're not available at 3 p.m. on Tuesday, because if they are, they'll just join me. But if they aren't, they can they can have a different time on that day, or same time, different day, right, or, any of the above.
Right. So I think functionally that's the same function, except the one's for a specific date rather than maybe repeating. Because whether you put in 1 hour or you put in 30 hours of availability, it's still, you're putting in a time span, and you're saying, I'd like to meet on this topic. So functionally, I think those are pretty much similar development efforts.
The issue is if, let's say, I put in my schedule and everyone puts in their schedule and we want to talk about climate change, then it says, okay, look, there's 6 of you who have the same schedule, the same time. You can all meet at 2 p.m. on Thursday. And then it has to send out an invite and people have to accept, and then you create it. So it's like, and because we're not Facebook, it has to email, you know what I mean? Like they're not going to be checking, they're not necessarily going to know. Whereas if you put in, hey, I have this one blocked off conversation that I want to have, it's a lot easier to see, like, is there 0 people or 100 people who wanting to be part of it? And or did it generate other times, right? And then I can go back in and be like, oh, no one signed up for mine, but there are people who are interested. Can I sign up for one of theirs? And possibly recombine, right? Like that it sees that, okay, I'm leaving this one and going to this one. Am I wrong in that that's an easier app than the one where we put in our schedules and then it matches us up?
I'll have to readjust my thinking.
Yeah. I think the same, like I could pretty easily repurpose the scheduling for projects to make the project part optional and to even have like a topic or something. I guess my point of that was the first version of this. I don't think you put your availability. I think eventually you would, because that's important. But in version 1, where you just need to be able to list things and like have a list of topics that people want to meet on, and then the proposed time, and then people can sign up for it and sort of say like, yeah, I'd be interested in that.
I think if that's what we're looking for, I don't know that we need an app. I mean, I think you could do that in an Excel spreadsheet or a Google Sheets.
True. Yeah. Which personally, I think is how we should start anything, right? Almost any time that we're talking about coding something, if we don't have like a live mockup with at least 10 users, we shouldn't code anything.
Well, there are some things that you can't bootstrap that way. Like if you wanted it to choose 4 people, I guess you could write some code on them to have it search. But having an availability and having a find availability isn't something I would do in Google Sheets. But if you're just putting in discrete dates and times
of the product, right? That's one thing that I think that is in the coded version. The spreadsheet doesn't have all the features. The spreadsheet just starts to collect the people who are interested in doing that.
There are some minimum viable products that you cannot do in a Google Sheet. That's all I'm saying.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. But because some of the other stuff we were throwing around, I can't imagine how you'd do that first in Google Sheet. But if you're just putting in dates and times and topics, then we might be able to find a way to organize that. I'm trying to think of how it would be organized, though, because it could just be, a list of topics, and then people could search and then put in their times.
Yeah. There's stuff in the comments sort of saying, like, why do you need scheduling? I think once we have a lot of people, theoretically, yeah, you don't need scheduling. If there's 1,000 people on the site all looking at different topics, odds are you're going to have, 5 to 10 people interested, and they can just jump into a room. But when you're starting with like 10 or 20 people, in order to actually gain traction and start to have meetings, especially if we're across time zones, I think you still need scheduling. Someone needs to write, like, this meeting is happening because we scheduled it. So the people who are hosting it were able to schedule around it and know when to join. And I think you would need to do that at least at the start to get people sort of on board to say, okay, can we all meet at this time regularly? Great, let's keep meeting then. And then once that has built enough of an audience, theoretically, you can start meeting without a schedule. Sort of like how, some people might be watching this or maybe be watching certain live streams just because it's on Facebook and because they saw it and they're like, oh, neat. But that's because Facebook has so many people. It has that as an option.
Yeah, and we already have an open GameB Zoom room, right? And people use that for a while, but after a while, there's no reason to go there because no one would be there. And it's hard to sit on it with it open on your computer all the time. So I think without scheduling, you're still going to have a very, very low, even with tens of thousands of people, I don't know that I would still go there and say, okay, I want to talk now, but I'd rather,
There's something coming through with so what we tried to do in GameB in the very beginning, right, with the cafe, and then you'd go in and no one would be there, but when someone was there, it was really awesome, and it was really cool for like a week or two. Having a scheduling app that just concentrates on that. So the idea is having a Zoom room that's paid for, having multiple Zoom rooms, and then having people vote on what topic is most relevant, or, like which room's talking about which 15 things coming through at once. Having a calendar for each room where someone can say, hey, this is the topic that we're talking about at this time, so come and join. And if you can't, then you might want to have that same conversation somewhere else, right? Like at a different time. But and then if there's 2 happening simultaneously, that's when you want a second Zoom account. Or there's 2 conversations happening. Yeah, 2 conversations happening simultaneously, or more than 100 people, because Zoom can coordinate 100 people. And then also potentially reaching out to other communities that could really use connection in the pandemic to say, hey, this space is for parents, right? To come and talk about parenting during this time once your kids are in bed, because bedtime is all around the world, right? At any given time. Having limits to groups. So I know what you're referring to, Enrico.
Yeah, I don't know. So he mentioned earlier that 5 to 10 people group. So yeah, we are hoping to limit each group to 4, right, Jubilee? Or I mean, that number may vary, but our initial plan is like,
I personally would really like numbers to be limited to 4. Like even the Omega group, the one that Eric's trying to grow, there were like 7 people there this week, and it doesn't work for me. I need to have 4 people having a conversation maximum, not all the people, because then half the people aren't talking and they're just watching and they're not getting their voice heard. I don't feel heard because I feel like I can't monopolize even a quarter of the time, and I want to be able to feel like I can monopolize a quarter of the time. Like it just, for me, it doesn't, but at the same time, you don't want to split, like 6 is kind of the splitting point, right? So if you have 5 people, okay. If you have 6 people, you split into 2 groups of 3, and Zoom can do that. So doing a very beta scheduling app where people can log in, because the whole point also is if we're doing it just within Game B, I feel like we would have gained traction already with the amount of things that I've put out there that are very like this, right? But crickets. So like, this isn't going to be an internal Game B thing. It's something that is like for humanity while we're stuck inside during a pandemic to connect them on topics of interest. And so having it be a very beta, you log in so you're not showing up naked and being a troll. Maybe there's a nudity one. I don't know. There's enough people who want clothing optional options. Great. But like, we're not having the same problems with a lot of other stuff. You have an actual account that you're logging into, and then that it helps you schedule the conversations, right? Which Zoom room am I in? As there's a problem with one, can we, buy a new one and add it in? Can someone donate one for 6 hours per day? Like all the different pieces, but it also didn't get traction. There's no one besides this person who is like, yes, I can create this. So maybe I will contact Sam, and who is the person from Oh, I see. Aid went to go get a package, he said. And so, like, I just think this is like a time where society can get much more divided, as we already are, with toilet paper being in short and people blaming everyone else. Like, well, I'm healthy, so I can get it. And like, just society's in the process of going crazy. And so to be able to offer it some kind of glimmer of hope that's available to everyone, that's not about Game B, but very Game B. Like, if you can connect over video, and then if it's simple enough that anyone can add a Zoom room, right? That when you have a community, when you have something that we're not discussing, we can have the ones that are more, what's the word? Like concrete. Like people want to discuss climate change. People want to discuss parenting. People want to discuss sporting events. I don't know, having 4 or 5. And then as they don't register with anyone and no one wants to use them, having rotating what that topic is, right? Well, the sports people really do like talking and they show up constantly, but I don't know exactly what that would look like if we're using it to facilitate a Zoom room, a cafe, so we can just know what's happening in which room at what time. And as an individual, I can suggest something or join.
So 2 paths: one to put in your availability, one to just put in a date and a time. And for availability, I'm thinking it might be easiest, this may or may not work, is just to say, for these days of the week, for these hours, I tend to be available. So that'd make a rather simpler interface rather than having all the options of repeating monthly days and stuff like that. Because most people have some sort of regular weekly schedule, but not everyone. But you're right. Then we still need a notification system. The other option is, just some place to list that you have times and you have dates and times and topics, and then people can search and express interest in that date and time and topic.
And yes to what Enrico said. Yes, the idea is anyone can start a group, but whatever the beta version is going to limit that. If we only have 4 rooms, if we only have we need to choose ones that have a higher threshold of people who are interested.
Although I still don't think like the feature in Zoom of taking a large group of people and splitting it up into smaller things is going to be much of a thing. The problem is people don't know when to be together. So I guess that does become a problem if you get a lot of people. But I think the bigger issue is finding the time to be together rather than splitting up a large group. So I mean, even if, I don't know how to coordinate that, but.
Sorry, what do you mean by finding the time to be together? You mean like the scheduling part of it, like finding a time that 4 people?
Yeah, I don't know how often you're going to really have 4 people, more than 4 people who found a time, and just any one of them, someone just chooses to create a free Zoom account and start a room with 4 people. You have 45 minutes on the free version. Or, if you're using a spreadsheet, then the top 4 people do a meeting and the 5th person, gets a free Zoom account and puts in a Zoom link into the spreadsheet, right? And it's just handled by convention. Maybe.
So is there a way to do this on spreadsheet and Facebook group so that anyone can theoretically join the Facebook group to get access to the spreadsheet and can possibly post? Like, we don't want everyone posting, I'm going to have a conversation this time and this day. That's not true. We totally do in the beginning. But once we have 100 people, we don't want 100 people posting what they want to have a conversation about, and it's not going to connect them. But having a spreadsheet that is topic, date, and time, and you're going to have to, it'll be always in Pacific Standard Time or always in GMT time, which might make the most sense, is having it in the GMT time, and then you get to switch it for you. So having the time, and then you sign up for that, and then you put the link in, but you want to know people are going to show up. That's part of the problem, is I put out things that are, hey, let's talk about this at this time. And then one person might want to. I'm not looking to have a one-on-one conversation. I'm looking to have, to make this work, I would have a one-on-one conversation, no problem. But the constant, you're the only one who shows up and nobody else shows up. And or constantly just being 2 of you when you're wanting to have a group conversation is a problem. But I'm rambling on. Is there a way to do this with a spreadsheet and Facebook?
So I think you could create a spreadsheet. First column would be topic. Second column would be date and time in GMT or Zulu time, and then the 3rd, 4th, and 5th and 6th columns would be someone marking that they have an interest. Right.
I think tabs would be for date. That seems weird. Or topic. Having 4 different topics, then having it be.
I don't see a reason in breaking it down into tabs.
I
guess I don't see it.
End up just having 1 tab for topics and then 1 tab for people who want to sign up. And then you can start to get a count for that. Somebody could sign up for the same topic more than once. You could have 100 people sign up for the same topic if you want.
So that's more then, but how are they finding when they're available? The point is to have a topic and the time. There is no way to kind of say, I'm sorry, I can't make this time in this topic, but I could make any of these times. You can put out a second one, right? I can't make that, but I can make this time and put out a second one. But you can't really put out I'm not coordinating people to get together to have a conversation. I have enough going on. It's hard enough to coordinate me having those conversations around my schedule. But so the spreadsheet, because what we would want from the spreadsheet is the communication that something is happening, this topic, this time, and then how many people are interested in that. how many people are actually going to show up and be part of it. And then, yeah. Because like Facebook becomes unmanageable very fast. Like 100 people having regular conversations is almost too much for a spreadsheet to handle. But that's a good problem to have, right? When it gets too big for that. But I just like, I want to be able to offer the world this option, even if this option is start your own Facebook group around a topic and figure out a Zoom room, right? About something that's important to you, that this is an option. And then creating the parallel platform that helps everyone come onto that platform so that everyone can access this. And maybe Facebook takes it on, does something like that. Or it's like, hey, which I don't want, but.
There's a Facebook post about a question about donation pools, and no, there's in the GameBee group, someone's working on making a generic kind of GameBee crowdfunding platform. But we could also, you know, if we wanted to write out a specification and do a quick video, we could do a, gosh, what's the crowdfunding site that they don't really care what you're doing?
GoFundMe?
Yeah, GoFundMe. You know, we could throw up a GoFundMe.
Yeah. We just have all of our, for TogetherTec, we have all of our regular issues, which is like, we don't have a bank account. Who's gonna, like, we need to figure out that piece of it. And that is part of, yeah, that's part of what TogetherTec needs to figure out. But we're not really there yet because we don't have people who are looking to fund us. But maybe we do.
Yeah, so if we want to just give it a try, I think a Google Sheet with topic column, date and time column, and then a Zoom link column, and then 4 slots for people to indicate that they're interested.
4 slots, so I can, and I would put my name in there, or I would just say yes.
Yeah, however, I don't. We'd have to see what convention works. I probably first name would do. I don't know.
The truth is, once we get past 4, we're good. Because if we have 5, then we don't split into groups. If we have 6, we split into groups of 3. If we, you know, like.
Yeah, well, I would
have up to 100, and that won't be a problem.
I would delete the columns to the right and say, you know, once it fills up to 4 people, you just stop. And the call has, and you just say, if there's not 4 people, you're not going to have the call. Or you could say 3 to 4 or something like that, and gray out the 4th column, or you could go to 5 or whatever. But
a good option. Part of the issue, so it's anyone can post on it, can say, yes, there's the Zoom link, here's the topic, here's the time, and I'm a new person coming on, or a me coming on after people have posted. How do I find, like, they're not in an order that's helping me. Is there a way to export a spreadsheet to a calendar? My guess is no, or we would have done it a long time ago.
I mean, you would sort by the columns in the order. So it'd sort by topic. So first you'd go look, you'd Control F to find the topic if you kind of know what the wording is, or you could browse, and then you look at, you know, and then everything under that topic would be listed. I can't imagine there'd be more than, you know, a page worth of events on any topic. And then when you're done, or the date passes, you would delete that row.
And it's also like everything chicken and egg. Like, if we don't have enough people to try it out, then it's not viable. Like, the 3 of us know when we're having the conversation. We don't need it for the 3 of us. We need it for, like, humanity. But we don't need it for humanity because we can't do it for humanity. So, like, 100 people who are lonely and want to have a conversation during. And I don't even know how to do that. That marketing piece is broken for every one of the ideas I have. Like, getting people to the thing seems to be very, very not my talent.
I think you guys mentioned it earlier, but the idea of having a Facebook group where just somebody posts and says, I want to talk about this topic, and then that post becomes the conversation around, okay, who's interested and what times do we want, and blah, 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 blah. And you use that, you know, until you get like 10, 20 people. And then you can start to figure out, oh, okay, now with these 10, 20 people, how do we do a spreadsheet, right? And 10, 20 might be too low if there's a bunch of topics. But if there's like 2 that seem to resonate especially strong, that might be fine. There's 10 topics, you probably want like 100 because you want like a decent size in each group. And then you can start to, at that point, probably build up the spreadsheet when you figure out how people are using it, how the conversations go, where they're trying to arrange their time, and how often people tend to, you know, oh, look, this time spot has 20 people, so they had to split into groups. This time spot, there's been 2 of them, they've been trying to meet for 4 weeks. What can we do to help those 2 cases?
So is the idea here to have not a one-off conversation, but a weekly conversation or a bi-weekly conversation.
Well, I think your original topic was a one-off conversation, right? But
it was both. It was, I mean, the truth is it's easier for people to jump on board to a one-off conversation that don't feel like they're committing to anything. At the same time, to be able to create community within the pandemic, multiple conversations over a course of time is going to be much more valuable to people. But again, do they know that? So are they coming on board? So the idea is both, that you do have it. In fact, I like weekly better, or bi-weekly. Like, how often are you meeting and what's the first one? And then you know how many are there, and are you still open, right? Because if you have enough people, like you have 12 people and we break into groups of 4 every week, but we don't want more people, right? Are you open to getting new people? And if you're not open to having new people, then that's when you delete it off of there.
well, I mean, once you have the first meeting, you could say repeating. I think you should take it off the spreadsheet because you don't need any more people.
But you might be, like, there might be, especially if you have a paid Zoom account, you might be willing to have up to 100 people, but that's not going to create the intimate community. So I like the idea, like at the Omega on Tuesday, getting 12, 15 people and then breaking off into groups. So I know I'm talking to the same community of people, but not the same people all the time, if that makes sense. So I'm not talking to the same 3 or 4 people, but I'm talking to the same 50 people.
Yeah, but yeah. I just think that you're already having trouble of not having enough people in general, and then you're limiting it down to 1 hour a week and trying to get more people. I think it'd be better if the system, if it wasn't, breaking people up after they get to the same point of time, but breaking people up on all the different potential times that they have.
Is it worth it to make this only a solution raising type cafe? So it's not going to solve all of the problems for humanity, but there isn't a single person that I know of who doesn't care about something. So having it be a actual project-based conversation where the first one is that solution, right? Like maybe there's you're talking with people on education and forming a group around that, and then continuing on having that conversation until you feel you've done all you can do. I'm completely pivoting and changing the entire point already.
Yeah, and
I think that's stronger, because if you can say, like, here's the time, here's the topic, and people can vote on the topic, I think it's easier to say yes to something that's more concrete. That you're like, here's the time, here's this, do you want in or not? And like, here's the topics that we're talking about, which one do you like? As opposed to like, who wants to talk about stuff? That becomes a much more nebulous conversation where people might just get lost in the mire of trying to think about ideas to possibly talk about. And like we've seen that does kind of work with all the meetings that we're all a part of. They have varying success rates, but we do it. We do them. We get people joining in on some of them. We get feedback. We get some Facebook viewers and YouTube ones. It just, in my experience, if you can be specific, that appeals to people more. Like
like there's something about the solution raisings, and yes, we're in the infancy and we're still figuring out what those look like, but they're powerful. Like being able to be part of a conversation that can generate solutions is exactly what the world needs right now. And then it becomes like, wait, why are we generating solutions for the platform itself, right? Like, so we can make this easier, so we can do its own thing. And so having one Facebook group that is solution raising, that is like, hey, and then having various topics, picking the top 4 topics that people maybe want to talk about, and then coordinating that. Or because I'm not having a Facebook group for each individual one. Never mind. I was like, it's not happening. And people do care about multiple ones, right? Like I'm like, I care about education and food. What happened, Bentley? Did he drop himself down?
Yeah, I think so. I think he said I'll be back or something.
Okay, all right.
I guess just raise your hand, Bentley, when you're ready.
Yeah,
we'll try to keep an
back in when you're raise your hand. I was gonna add him back in. Be like, stop dropping out.
What were we just talking about?
Who knows? The world. Topics. So having one Facebook group, and then having
right. Is there like
topics that people care about?
Is there a Game B Conversations group?
Yes.
Okay, so it seems like that's the spot for this to live, to start with, at least, just to like find the people and to post the things on like, hey, who wants to meet on X?
No, because conversation, strangely, isn't that. It is only for posting your conversations you've already had. It's not for actually finding people to have conversations with.
Oh, all right.
So if you see someone's conversation and then you post underneath like, oh, I want to have a conversation with you, that's totally cool. But they don't want it to turn into what we would make it into.
Okay.
And plus, I don't want it to be Game B people. As much as I love Game B people,
right?
I have conversations on stop. I want to be able to say, listen, world, we can come up with actual solutions.
Right.
You are empowered. Have a conversation that is about empowering humanity. Like, well, you're stuck inside with the coronavirus that we don't maybe have any control over. All of the cracks that this has shown in society, look at what we can do from that.
Right.
And creating a Facebook group that is like, let's talk about food, let's talk about energy, let's talk about education, let's talk about, and then coordinating that.
So I like that idea way more, at least to start with, than open conversations. And I think one leads to the other, right? Because
it draws in the right people anyway.
Or 500 people who are like, hey, wait, who's interested in this topic? Oh, cool. Let's start a conversation on that.
Yeah, and so it's like topic, and then you can also, so in the education, there could be like its own spreadsheet on education, and then people can be like, yeah, I want to talk about my favorite teacher, right? Like, it doesn't need to be something that's like problem from point A to point B. If people want to have that conversation, right? What made your teacher your favorite? What was your favorite class? Because those are, I love having those conversations, but creating the umbrella under which you're having those conversations and finding the people to have them with. How about a Game B Facebook group, asks and offers, help seed conversations? Like asking for a conversation and offering, asking and offering. Did Bentley put up his hand? He's back. I'm going to guess he put up his hand. Sorry, did I preemptively put you in, Bentley?
I'm just fixing my audio. Go ahead.
Waiting for you to put up your hand, and I thought you had. I was like, I'm sure you would have again if we were ignoring you. I could have waited. We need to introduce people to the concept of Game B, but in simpler terms. Someone had to leave. I don't know if it was the same person as before. It's really weird because Enrico shows up, but the other people don't. And so was it like the same person? One of them was Sam because I went to go see, but I don't know. But so a Facebook group that is solution raising or raising solutions in this area. The issue is nobody knows what a solution raising is, but at the same time, once you've seen one, it's pretty self-evident. And with the understanding this isn't set in concrete, we're working out how to do solution raising too, right? Yeah. Like what works and what doesn't. I don't know if you guys saw, I'm holding one later today on pandemics, basically, on infectious disease. I was like, let's see if we can fail. Like, this is a hard one to talk about. People's emotions are heightened. I have no solution for it really, besides all of the solutions I have so far, like healthcare solutions and such. But not one for, and it also, like with 10,000 people and $100,000, I don't know, what could you do with that? No idea, but we're going to see. So there's that today, and then you guys are doing the one tomorrow on community, as I'm flying out to Alberta. So
yeah, and I'm actually not available for tomorrow's either.
Yeah, I think it's going to end up being a kind of a new crew. I think it's going to be me, I think Edward, and we'll see who else joins.
Was on one of the last ones, and it's me, Kylie, Eric, and Mark Fraser on the one today. So that should be good. And then no one else. They wouldn't even. I find it so frustrating when I put things. They're like when you need to get posts approved and no one will approve it. I'm like, this is exactly in this space. Someone had suggested, like, go to this coronavirus space. It's like, cool, let's have an open conversation. Let's actually come up with solutions. And no, they want to, I don't understand why people, like, this isn't the same. I'm not requiring money from people. There's no,
So if we're talking about trying to sort of start this with a more specific ask, like these solution raising, and we're trying it to not be Game B, do we just want to rename the Game B projects to TogetherTec? Kind of like, because that's sort of what the Game B project space is, and solution raising is sort of the first part of the TogetherTec, solution to project to actually working on the project funnel?
There's like both ways, because one, we are attached to game B, like we're on the we couldn't possibly, we're on the page, but like we're the only ones really participating. There's a handful of other people who are participating. The idea is that people in game B have projects, so why are we not coming together and creating OmniWin solutions? There's also people outside of game B who've never even heard of game B who have projects that I have been inviting and suggesting come and be part of game B projects. But I like the idea of it being game B projects because we're not big enough to stand on our own at the moment.
The only reason I don't is just because if we're trying to get other people involved, as soon as you see game B projects, that starts the squirrel conversation of what's game B. And then you might lose people as far as like they get distracted and go and do other stuff. But if it's its own thing, if a standalone, it doesn't have to be called TogetherTec. But if it's something that doesn't reference anything else, and we're saying, hey, come be a part of this, there's solution raising and projects, and we're doing all this stuff, that idea is standalone, and the page is standalone.
Mm-hmm. I like both ideas because I think that
it might be worth asking the game B people, like, do you have to have game B in the name for it to be on the page?
You do, yeah.
You do? Okay.
Yeah, for it to be there. That's why Cuba 2.0 named it, to like game B Cuba 2.0. Having projects come together and create OmniWin solutions is already very game B, where like, yes, I get the people need to understand game B before they come on board. But at the same time, I don't want someone coming on board and not understanding, not game B, but like why game B.
Right. Well, we've talked about the thing with TogetherTec is like we all sort of have our ideas and we seem to be, in sort of unison on its OmniWin and the various bits and pieces. So we just explain those. Because I mean, I've seen so many conversations on the game B space that go super deep and people talking about it and novels are written about like what is game B. People won't read that much if we're just trying to be like, hey, do you want to come to a session to talk about this? There should probably be some kind of an intro like, hey, we're OmniWin and it's this and it's not for profit, or whatever phrases we choose to use to describe that group. We can sort of choose which elements of game B we think we should focus on and just do that. But again, that is, if we have to keep game B in the name, right now that does seem like kind of the best spot to get people interested, because that kind of is the most alignment. And so it's, I don't know.
Yeah, I think we could look into changing it once it becomes an issue. I don't think there's a problem either way.
I think right now we can just invite people to projects, whether they're game B or not, if they have a project and or they want to find a project. And then if from there they find the game B space, great, or people from game B find it, which is much more of the arrow that it goes towards. And I don't think, again, which is why I don't think we're big enough to stand on our own, is people know game B, they don't know TogetherTec. And having a meta project of people being able to come together, just like game B is the best branding for it at the moment.
Right.
And once there's enough of us coordinating that it's like, this is the meta project that is TogetherTec, then it evolves its own, right? If the three of us are deciding it's not yet meta project, I don't know.
Yeah. I guess we might be able to, like, if we keep the name, have some kind of an intro on the page, that's sort of like, here's what we stand for, here's what game B means to this, like to this page, to this group. Yeah. If you want to go and scroll and figure out what game B means to everyone, have fun. But in context of this group, here's the operating principles. Yeah. We're open to change. Let's go.
Yeah. Like we are just coming together, figuring out OmniWin solutions for our projects and creating the infrastructure that helps facilitate that together and dealing with the emotional fallout of all of that. Fun things, which are actually fun things. But I don't think that either game B projects or TogetherTec Facebook group is the Facebook group that is the solution raising people want to join to be part of a conversation on solutions. Like having... That's for like solution raising specifically, like come here if you want to talk with other people on video chat about solutions.
Right. Well, I think I've heard sort of two different parts. There's just the conversation part, like going and chatting about topics. And that I don't think has anything to do with TogetherTec or game B projects or that. And then there's the like trying to have a conversation around a solution that if it goes well, should eventually turn into a project. To me, that's like, almost like using game A terms, that's like building the funnel for the projects. That's saying, here's a list of things, and also sort of like the fact that we link it to Game B projects or to TogetherTec, they seem very sort of like, there's a lot of synergy there. There's a lot of like, it's trying to do the same thing. It helps build the like, oh, okay, they're trying to do sort of end to end. Start with the, what are you trying to solve? And then going into the projects and so on. So I think the separation is, if it's something like the solution raising as we've done so far, that does seem Game B projects. If we're talking about like an open conversation around whatever, yeah, that's not. That can, but I also don't think that sounds like a solution. That's just a conversation.
I think also though, like if it's tied to the Facebook group on projects, we already don't have that many people without projects who are there. And that's the point, is like anyone can be part of this. Right. And so it is the funnel. It could be the funnel, but I think designing it in the place it's the funnel possibly too isn't, because it's like you have the conversation. There's no kind of stress on you have to come up with a solution you're going to work on. This is like a place to play and say, hey, look what we could come up with in an hour. Imagine if we were able to create working groups and hey, we could also do that. Like we can actually have, if something was generated within a conversation and you want to actually have it be actionable, how do we create it in the world? How do we get 10,000 people and $100,000 once we've had, a bunch of these? And that same question has come up. And then it becomes a project under the projects, right? Either the individual project or the project of how do we facilitate these conversations and facilitate a project that is created from the ground up through conversation. So did I just talk myself into creating yet another Facebook group? I already created one this week on Kyle C's where it's hilarious because everyone has a different version. Don't let them in. They work for him. I'm like, we're just trying to figure out coaching without a central leader. If you don't want this is not high school. I just can't do the drama. Not doing the drama.
But so to go back,
post on the page. Don't post to the admin.
So to go back to the question before you went on to Kyle C. Sounds like you're thinking about starting a new group that we can call whatever, that we move solution raising to. And then the idea is, if somebody wants to start a solution, you say, great, by the way, if you're interested, head over there, like head over to projects if you want help and if you want this sort of environment. But then there's a page for sort of both types of conversations, just the like casually discussing stuff and then actually sort of conversation with the purpose of hopefully get a solution.
Sorry, I was zoned out and didn't really understand that. But a Facebook group that is facilitating, that anyone can be part of a conversation. Not when we're doing solution raisings, it's particular. TogetherTec is doing them. We're following that format. We're trying to figure out that format. And probably at least one of us is participating. Right. And it's recorded and put on our YouTube channel. The idea of a Facebook group is that it's not broadcast. Anyone can participate. It'll be a Zoom call. We're coordinating that. But also, if you want to record and post here, right, what these solutions are and how do we coordinate that, right? Maybe there's one posting for food and one for this, and keep posting videos under that. Was that
okay? So a separate Facebook group for the like non-solution emphasis type conversations.
No, solution raising is still those are the conversations we're facilitating. They're just not solution raisings that TogetherTec is doing. Like It's like the true crowdsourced, hey, do you have a topic you wanted to have a solution on? How do we help you coordinate a group to do that? And then even if we're not there, how do we facilitate that? And how do we have hundreds of people hopefully participate in it so that everyone feels empowered to create solutions together, to actually talk on video chat and have this empowering experience.
But the conversations are still in the context of trying to find a solution to something.
Yeah.
Okay.
And beyond, like the idea is to pick topics that are problematic in society that need solutions and facilitate conversations under the umbrella of that problem that we're coming up with solutions for. So one of the easiest points to get into is to try a solution raising yourself, right? Try to come up with solutions within it. Many of them aren't going to work. Many of them are going to have possibly I think any group I'm part of is going to have a solution. We're probably all like that. But there might be 4 people who get together who are waiting for someone else to come up with all the solutions. I don't know. And that's part of trying, is facilitating conversations, empowering people, and giving them a project. Because that is how you create community and help people have personal growth, is like you figure out your shit. But some people don't know how to figure out their shit. Doing it in a group setting when you have a project to work through is like ideal. for so many reasons. Even though that was not the vision at the beginning of this hour. It was just conversations, any conversation. I don't care if it's on sports or your show last night. But we don't have the people. That's harder to coordinate. So having a Facebook group. So we'd have a Facebook group, but then it'd be like, come have video chats about everything and everything under the sun that's meeting to you is too much. Whereas people feeling the stress that I've been feeling for decades of like, our world is falling apart. This is like touching every different area. Having people from that space be able to be empowered, find their group of people and connect over video chat and come up with actual solutions is, to me, what shifted during this hour. And now that's what I want to get in on. Screw the rest of humanity. Where are the problem solvers and how do we connect them? I love the rest of humanity. Don't listen to me. I'll do my conversations. Whoever said this, yes, that would be awesome. However, also, we're not there yet. Like, that is part of like having people with conversations. Are we going to record them? Are they going to be posted as a very one-off thing? Same with, is there an artist here who can draw something up? Eventually having that be part of the process, where if you have a single solution raising, like we're doing food, and then you have every individual group creating a solution, then working through a process to actually showcase that solution. Like, we've yet to come up with an actual solution during solution raising. We come up with dozens of solutions, right? That are like not really looked into. Think about how long of the conversation for just the scheduling. Like, it could do this and it could do that. Being able to actually say, yes, this is enough of a kernel to want to give it back to want to report it to the group, right? To say, hey, who wants to work on this? And then other people can generate conversations from that conversation or start again at zero, right? And yes, then it'll come up naturally, I'm hoping, of like, how do we take notes of these conversations? How do we actually pass this information back to the group? But the bigger deal is that people get together and realize that in groups of 4, they can come up with a solution. So why aren't we doing this on a massive scale? Like, honestly, once we have a platform on humanity where you can log in and have a conversation that has a real impact and be able to create tasks that anyone can do and follow through on those tasks and hire people to do the other parts, this all happens so very fast. But getting to that point when we have 0 people, and not 0, we have 4 people, but like not enough people to do the work, not enough money to pay people who would be willing to do the work, it's a much slower process. We're figuring out how to do it on current tech, and I think we're doing a pretty good job. Facebook and a spreadsheet. Oh, meanwhile, the other group is going off. Can be so much less drama than people who need coaching, turns out. Who would have thought? Oh. All right. I have my solution raising in an hour, and my brain needs a break. So does anyone have anything else they would like to add to the conversation? Or should we end here?
Nope, that's a good ending point.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to create a Facebook group, and once people are in the Facebook group, we'll figure out how to make a spreadsheet to facilitate the process. All right. Bye, Facebook. Bye, YouTube.
Bye.